When a company keeps track of data, it's got the whole company's interests in mind. The human resources department, the sales department, the production department, because this information is valuable for doing business. Now, if we expand JProco, we notice we have a number of tables. Probably valuable for the sales department. This one might be valuable for the human resources or the community affairs department. This is pretty valuable for HR. This is probably pretty powerful for production. But we don't know that for sure. I mean, there's no prefix to these tables. There's no hint about what the importance or what area of these tables are. There's no namespace. There's no category for these tables. Well, that's kind of common for tables to start with DBO. But there is a new capability ever since SQL 2005 called Schemas. Now, let's expand the AdventureWorks database, expand tables, and notice we can tell that the employee table belongs to the Human Resources Department, and their employee addresses belongs to the Human Resources Department, and the shift table belongs to the Human Resources Department. The contact table belongs to the person department, and if we scroll down, we see credit card, currency, customer belongs to the sales department. This two-part name for tables has been around for a while, but we always used to call it DBO. Now this two-part name consists of a schema name and an object name. In this case, the object is a table called customer. What we're going to do is we're going to show you how to create tables that are inside of particular schemas. Now, rather than altering the JProco database, we're going to start off fresh by giving an example in the Radisco database. The Radisco database currently has no tables. So, let's go ahead and make sure that we are in the Radisco database context and do a create table statement. Create table, and we'll say customer, and we'll give it 3 fields. Customer ID, which will make an int as the primary key, and then we will say customer name, which is a varchar 50, not null, city, which is a varchar 30. Not null. And if we were to run this, what kind of a name does it get? Let's look. It's got DBO. And let's say we didn't want that. So let's get rid of this table. And let's recreate it as sales.customer. And let's try to run that. And it says, hey, okay, you are trying to put the customer table in the sales schema. Now, either you didn't create that ahead of time, or you just don't have permissions to it. Now, I'm a system administrator, so I got permissions to everything. This tells me that, you know what, if I'm going to put a bunch of tables inside of a sales container, or sales schema, I better have a sales schema. So, before we create this table, let's get ready for a bunch of tables just like it by saying create schema, and we'll call it sales. And then say go. I'm going to run this. I'll run this create table statement. Refresh the table. There's our sales.customer table. So how do you verify what schemas are existing on your database? In this case, let's look at the Radisco database. We know we have a sales schema, but there also might be other schemas that you've created, or there very well could be schemas that the system created when you installed. It's in a very counterintuitive place. You have to expand not the tables folder, but the security folder. Expand schemas, and here's all of the schemas. Now, some were created for you by the system, But you can see there is a sales schema here. Now there's no human resources schema, but if we copied and pasted this command and changed the word to human resources and just selected these two lines, we have a human resources schema visible as soon as we refresh the screen. There we go. Now we are free to create tables inside the human resources schema. Let's do the same thing for the purchasing schema. Okay. Purchasing schema created. Let's refresh. And we see the purchasing schema has been created. Now we want to create two more schemas. People and production. We can use code, or you can just right-click, say New Schema, type in the name as People, click OK, and you see the People schema. Right-click Schemas, say New Schema, and then say Production. Click OK, and we have 5 new schemas that we've added in the last few minutes. Let's add 2 records to our sales.customer table and then discover how these schemas are useful and how to use them. Right-click your customers table and let's go ahead and edit the rows. Right now there aren't any rows, but at least we get an editor where we can enter new information. Let's say customer number 1 is the Mattress King, and they're from Toronto. And customer number 2 is Kush Rama from Fargo. Okay, let's close out of there. Go to a new query window, and let's select from the table using the qualified name sales.customer and run it. And you see your 2 results. Okay, let's try to select from the table using its simple name. Select star from customer. Run that. And it says invalid object name. It would say, hey, I can't find that exact table. You should probably qualify this with a schema. Let's change this to the JProCo database. Now the JProCo database does not have a sales customer, so it gets a unknown for both of these queries. But you can qualify this even further by saying select all fields from ratisco.sales.customer and run it. From the JProCo database, I just select a Ratisco table because I specified the database name, the schema name, and the object name. Lab 2.1, Skill Check 1. In the JProCo database, use T-SQL code to create the following 5 schemas: human resources, purchasing, production, person, and sales. When you're done, you should see the following schemas in your schema view. That's it for Lab 2.1 on schemas. Next up, Lab 2.2, Database Snapshots.